So, you're a streamer who followed my $100 setup guide, or you have a USB microphone. And today, I'm going to show you a less than $100 solution that both has XLR and USB, and sounds fantastic. All that and more on today's Casey is Tech. Microphones. There's lots of them to pick from, and today we're going to be covering the dynamic era. In my original episode, I brought up the BM700, which was a condenser microphone. And the best way to explain these... Oh god, the microphones are falling. So the best way to explain condenser and dynamic mics is the best way to explain it. Let me show you. So the difference between a condenser, which is like the BM... Difference between something like the BM700 and my dynamic mic we're using and reviewing today, the Q2U. So condenser microphones are different, as in they really like to bring in as much noise as humanly possible in any environment. Basically, when you hear a condenser, for example, if you're typing on a loud keyboard, so if you're typing on a really loud keyboard, like that, and you're just talking into your microphone like this, as you can hear. I don't know if you can. I guess this is a good example. If you're typing on a very loud keyboard like this Cherry MX Blue ripoff thing, you can keep typing, and this is trying to reject it. The difference between a dynamic and a condenser is mainly that condensers really like to bring in as much audio, and that's why you need to talk in a specific direction, but most of the time, it'll bring it in from any direction, not really trying to reject it. Difference is, dynamic microphones generally only want you talking in one direction. For example, this one wants you to talk into the top, same thing with this one, and same thing with this one. They want you to talk into specific directions or into the top. And the big difference is audio quality. The BM700 will probably sound a little bit better than this $60 microphone. And you might be asking, well, why would I buy it then? Well, the difference is this sounds really, really good on a dynamic range. For condensers, it's not really competition that the condenser sounds better, but this is better for a streamer. So most streamers don't have this big treated room like a studio. Studios commonly use condenser microphones. Streamers probably shouldn't, mostly because if you're not in a sound-treated room with a ton of foam and walls like mine, where right over here, to the left of this camera, there's a door that's bouncing off audio, and that's why I'm using a dynamic microphone. When I was in this corner, dynamic was great. If I ever want to go back to condenser, I could easily do so, but I do think, because I'm where I am now, in the back there, I have a lot of coverage, and it's very silent in that corner. But I think a big thing is sound rejection is the big draw with a dynamic microphone. So that's the big thing. I'm just making that clear at the beginning of this episode, so people do not go in assuming that it is a condenser microphone you're getting. I think any good alternative to condensers in the $60 to $100 range is a bit difficult, mostly because condenser microphones are kind of eh. What I think you should do is buy something like a BM700, B800, or the B8000, something like that, in that range of those microphones, and then hold on to it, get good at EQing, get a better interface, and then save up your money for something like the Blue Spark. That's the one I would recommend the most. But dynamic is a completely different story, mostly because I'm more interested and I actually look into dynamics a lot more. As you can tell, I own multiple dynamic microphones. I've owned multiple, and yeah. So let's get into the contenders for today's episode. So we have, oh Jesus. I almost just dropped the expensive microphone off of its stand. We have 3 microphones I'm going to be comparing today, and let's just go over them in price order. Starting with this guy. But this is the Shure Sm58's predecessor, basically, and it has a weird plugin. It uses a 1/4 jack, so if you're using the UMC22, you can plug it in easy, and we are using the UMC22 for all testing today, so if you do not have the UMC22, you will have mixed results. But yeah, we are using a UMC22, which I did review in the $100 setup episode. This episode is very relevant for this episode, but if you aren't very interested in it, the basic breakdown is it has Midas preamps in it, which are just amazing, and it makes stuff sound really, really good, and it goes for about $100. It was until all of this stuff happened. I'm just going to say that because I don't want to get demonetized if this channel ever gets monetized, so I'm not going to say that. So yeah, this guy is all of these are omnidirectional, omnidirectional dynamic microphones with all about the same kilohertz range. The difference is usually the capsule. The capsules inside of them are different. The interesting thing is, this was released back in the 60s. This is a very old microphone, and mine works. You'll see in later, this works. We'll still call it. All right, next up we have the luxurious, semi-luxurious Samson Q2U recording and podcasting kit. So yeah, this recommends for podcasting and stuff. This comes in silver and black, and this comes with a lot of stuff. It comes with a little stand, which you can't even see, but it has a small stand. It comes with an extension that attaches to your XLR mount, which will actually be very useful for the stand to make it actually level to your mouth. It comes with this windscreen, comes with the mount, and it also comes with an XLR and mini USB cable. And yeah, it also has monitoring built in, which I didn't bring up earlier, but yes, it has monitoring built in, which means you could technically use this in multitudes of ways. Okay, Casey, cut that and put it in. You know it. You're going to watch through all this footage. You know it. Just do it. Thank you. Okay, yeah, but it comes with a lot of stuff, and there's a lot to do with this microphone. So this will be a fun one to talk about later. And finally, and the most expensive one of all, the $500 Sennheiser SD321. This guy is the same hertz response, but the capsule is so much bigger, and it's a side address microphone, as you can see here. And the mount slides in and out. It's a custom mount, as much as I can tell. And yeah, this is the MD421U4. So I'm guessing this is the 4th version. And this is a common radio microphone from the 80s, 90s, 70s. It's still used today, and it's obviously retained its value since it's about $500. This is an expensive microphone. As much as I know, it comes with a mount, this guy, and a windscreen. So really nice. I think this is, yes, that's so the original. Nice. So yeah, this is the nicest microphone, and I decided not to use it just so you guys can keep hearing the raw noise of our Q2U. So that is our contenders for today's episode. So let's jump into a little bit of the more specifics. So talking about the features of these microphones, these two, basically none. This one doesn't even have an on and on, so if it has a bass selector on the bottom, which is kind of interesting, but that's about it. This one has an on and off switch. And that's about it, other than you can open up the capsule, which the Samson Q2U can do as well. Now, the Q2U, I think, is one of the best upgrade options left on the market today, mostly because if you're going through like a upgrade timeline, it fits perfectly within that timeline. As in, you start, but the Q2U works well because you can start on the USB mode and buy it for that if you're on a USB microphone. But if you're on an XLR, you can start on the XLR and then go to something like the Go XLR or the Go XLR Mini, and you can use, if you're on the USB, there's a little headphone jack here, and if you use that, but if you use that headphone jack, it will basically record in your audio and take it in basically, and it'll work on the Go XLR with the USB power bus, and then you can switch over to XLR when you can afford an XLR cable or feel like you want to upgrade that audio. So it's just a great upgrade option, and it leaves very open accessibility. It's just a great microphone for this. The only downsides I see with this microphone, it doesn't look that amazing, obviously. It looks cheap. This, honestly, for $500, this looks cool. I would use this on a regular basis if I could on my microphone. This, it's about the same level as this, but this looks cool because it's silver. I'm not saying the silver edition of this looks any better, though. Also, this has very bad, I'm gonna stay over here, plosives. To be fair, I tested all of these with their base configurations, which means I did not give this one a windscreen, even though this has pretty bad plosive projection on it, which probably should have came with a windscreen, but every source I could find online couldn't. Without further delay, let's head over to the computer and let's see how all of these microphones stack up. This is a cardioid puller dynamic. This is the Sennheiser MD421U. This thing is interesting, and this thing goes for regularly about $500, which is crazy, but it makes sense, so we're going to go ahead and listen to it. As you can tell, the actual frequency is very quiet, so I'm actually going to push up that gain a little bit, just a pinch, so it's not super loud. But since we're not using Cloud Lifter, but listen. Now, for this, we're going to be doing no audio editing at all. For the first section, I'm going to be, like I said, I've been using my... So, yeah, this is a perfectly great dynamic mic. And the plosives on this thing are pretty bad. As you can tell by me just doing this. And I'm pretty on top of this thing. It's definitely just... It's just definitely getting very plosive heavy, but that actually brings down the plosive pretty well. And this is just a windscreen, which just means that this has some pretty good rejection, but still the plosives without it is interesting, so I guess the windscreen isn't that bad or that great. But yeah, this thing is pretty great sounding, obviously. I would hope so. The only downside is it's super quiet, so obviously if you were using something like this, you should use something like the Go XLR, the Go XLR Mini, and also maybe using something such as a Cloud Lifter if you aren't using something like that. My minus preamps are a bit quiet, all things considered. These aren't the high-end preamps that the Go XLR and stuff like that have in them, so this is just not as nice, honestly. So there is that downside at least. So I would say that is a big issue with this, is that the range is just kind of all over the place, and it can be really loud and really quiet. It's just kind of eh. It does sound really good, don't get me wrong. So this is the Unisphere A. As you can tell, it's destroying my fingers because I have to hold it because of my microphone's actually broken. So yeah, this thing has an interesting thing. It's from the 60s, is a cardioid dynamic like all the rest of the mics here, and this is a pretty old mic, and it goes for about $50 to $100, which is crazy because I paid only about $3 for it. It was with this weird black capsule on top. It's weird, but it's actually quite nice, and it sounds not too bad. It sounds, I would say, worse than the Sennheiser, mostly because it doesn't have as much bass behind its voice, and it doesn't have a lot of feels. Like, it doesn't have a good feeling. And we're gonna go ahead and test the audio. A lot louder, obviously. I would hope so. For something way older, they didn't really know how audio worked as well, so I guess stand that. So yeah, and please bring pizza, please. Awful noise rejection, I would say. I don't know, there's a lot to do, but it's pretty good, other than, like, I hate holding this. Like, this is actually hurting my hand, and the surprise about this being $100 is kind of surprising to me, because I paid only about $3, like I said, I think it was a thrift store in Oregon is where I bought this, and it was not too bad. Pretty good deal for what I got. And yeah, this is a Unisphere A, if you didn't know. So yeah, this is pretty great. Ow, that was stabbing me. Alright, but yeah, so, I don't know, this is pretty surprising. This is the, if you do want to know, is the, like, follow-up before something like the modern SM58 and the SM57, which are very common to see on stage shows. This is probably a stage one. And honestly, this sounds pretty good, mostly because it has really good dynamic rejection, and its plosives are pretty good, and its proximity effect is actually not as bad. Surprisingly, the proximity effect isn't that bad. So yeah, nothing really to worry about. Pretty dang good, as much as I can see. So yeah, let's move on to the Q2U. Also, an issue with this is if I put it like at this range, which it's off frame, but if I put it like right here at the edge of frame, it's barely hearing me. Right here, it's basically where I would usually hold a microphone that I use handheld. And yeah, it's completely and utterly barely picking me up. The only, like, talkable level is right about here, but the issue is you'll constantly be peaking because you're going to be talking with like that, blowing in your microphone. And that's not very nice. But if you are just talking and just kind of sitting here and having a bit we talk, thank you for that. So we're going to move on to the regular and good old-fashioned Q2U. Although, I want to say one thing before we do this. Its side rejection is actually really good. As you can see, I'm like all around it, and it's rejecting it really nicely. So, just want to say that. Also, I think we might. Are we in? Did we get it? Oh, I think we got it. Did we get it? Hey. We got it. Heck yeah. Well, now I get to test it on the arm. So, let's move on to the Q2U. And now I have it on the arm, which is just awesome. Just saying, I'm going to keep putting that in there because I'm just so excited about that. Because it wasn't working originally. I thought it was, because it was working for a while there for me, but it just stopped working. Hello, and this is the classic Q2U. And of course, this is classic for me,
but it's not classic to you. So firstly, I want to get very adamant with this, that there is something interesting about the Q2U is both a dynamic and an XLR, like I brought up in the A roll. But the interesting thing about this alone is that it's screw-off capsule and stuff like that. It's very like open and manageable, so it's very much meant for stage play. But it's interesting because it's marketed as a podcasting mic to me, which is just interesting. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying that's interesting that they're marketing it as a broadcast microphone, or not a podcast and a certain microphone. Okay, so yeah, this is a dynamic carrier pattern like the rest of them, but this one's a lot wider. It's missing a lot of bass, such as the Sennheiser had, but this is just missing a lot of bass. But what it misses in bass, it adds in high tones. So it's very high. So it has a very high and full sound, because it has a very good mid-range. And you don't need anything like a Cloud Rifter, obviously, because it's just a very simple microphone. So I don't think that's bad at all. I really love the sound of it, but it's missing that bass, and that's something that is definitely missing when you get into the lower end of dynamic microphones. Honestly, that's something I've dealt with, and I've heard, is that dynamic mics really don't have a lot of the bass, like a nice bass that really gives a solid bottom. This one's missing that, and it kind of feels emptied out on the bottom, and it should have like a more fuller, like, it has a very full mid and a very good high, maybe a little bit too high, maybe taking some of that, like how high it gets, and putting it into the mid. We are running it off of the Bay Ringer right now, but to be fair, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the other mic real fast, or the other side of the mic, which is the USB side. To be frank, I've had this in the interface ever since I purchased it. Like, I never used it in another one. This sounds weird to me. Like, it doesn't sound as good, mostly. Like, it sounds like it's in the back, mostly because it's 2-channeled in this mode, and I usually run it in a 1-channel mode, so it's like mono. But like when it runs in this weird stereo, even though it's a single caps, it's like 6 capsules around a single capsule, so it's a bit interesting. I'll show the inside here. Like, it's just interesting to me that they like have it put together like they do right now. It's just, I don't know, it sounds weird, and the like the plosives and stuff like that aren't as impactful. So I thought the UMC22 wasn't like as impactful. So I guess like as a starting microphone, this doesn't sound bad for Twitch or Mixer or wherever you're live streaming. And even as a starting out microphone for your YouTube videos, it doesn't sound bad. And definitely you can make this sound better. Mostly because now, like, they just took away a lot of that full mid-tone and a little bit of that high and just like yoinked it away and go and threw it in a garbage can. Like, just completely and utterly. It doesn't sound very good, is what I'm getting at. Like, it feels like it's missing, like, just there's no bass. There's no bass at all. Like, it doesn't feel like there is bass at all. It feels like they just, like, took it away and just went, nah, we don't need it. Well, it's more mid and more high, and we'll just put it all into the midtones, because the midtones are really nice. Like, the midtones sound pretty good. Oh, they're not amazing, but they sound pretty good. Highs are a bit weird. They sound like... So, with all that out of the way, now it is time to say, I think this is one of the best upgrades you can do if you're starting, or if you want a starting USB microphone, or if you want to upgrade that $100 setup I did in that video, which I'll leave in the top left corner. When I did that, I definitely didn't intend to say that this is the perfect upgrade, but I think this is an amazing upgrade if you're going down the path of trying to get dynamic mics, as you can tell. So I think this is a great upgrade option for those two setups, mostly because if you are doing a dynamic mic for a stream, I think this is going to work great. It'll cut up a lot of sound as long as you're not near doors. And if you are putting up something like sound blankets or foam around you to try to put that down, and also just stuff like that. Like, I used to use this in my old area, which is on the other side of the room now, but that had doors, that had a bunch of stuff. Now I'm just near a window, which has a curtain in front of it. So if I open this up, like, it opens up a ton more echo in the room. Like, this is really echoey, surprisingly. So, like, one curtain, that's all you got to do. But I think, like, generally speaking, I think that this is a great upgrade option for that. And if you're just starting out, if you want a good USB mic, this is an amazing option too, because it leaves you upgrading to something like the UMC22, and then after the UMC22, going to something else like the Go XLR. And this is a good option because you can do either way. So I don't know why this would happen, but say your XLR jack broke on this, you could still use this microphone as an actual microphone through the USB, and if you wanted to go into something like the Go XLR, you could use the 3.5mm jack to go into it. Now, there is a few downsides with this mic, I would say. Firstly, I feel like it's missing the bottom out. It doesn't have as much bass, so if you're going to do something like the coXLR, I think it'll add a lot more bass. And the big thing is, this built-in USB preamp isn't that amazing sounding. It's missing a lot. I think the USB portion isn't amazing, but I think you can make it sound pretty good. Also, the plosive is pretty bad on this thing. I think I brought that up in my original episode, which you guys should check out right up there. Right up there. Go check it out. It's a great episode, so I can tell you guys more about it. Or tell you more about the original setup that I did. Now, if you want another condenser microphone for about $60, that's a bit difficult, I would say. But I think what you would do at that point is maybe save up a little bit of money and go for something like the Blue Spark. I think that's what I would personally do. For something like this, I totally get going for it. It's a great setup, and the thing is, it's very mobile with it coming with a stand and a bunch of other stuff, and it comes with a built-in, a free, like, very nice windscreen, which is just nice to have on it. But its plosive projection is really bad, so if you could, maybe getting a pop filter, and also something if you're a streamer microphones always should look really nice, I think, and this one doesn't look that amazing, because it just never has, and you're not getting as much of an open sound as you do with something like, where is he? He's not even on the shelf. I forgot where he's under the bed now. But you won't get as good of a sound from it, mostly. Like, your microphone won't sound as good. And my main thing is, it won't sound as good as your original setup, partially. Like, it'll sound better. It's a good upgrade if you're trying to change into a dynamic setup, because the cheap dynamic mics don't sound that amazing. But if you're trying to just do condenser, I think, yeah, definitely do not go for this. This is nothing like a condenser. It is a dynamic. A dynamic mic tries to reject as much noise around it, only talking into the front of the capsule. That's why I've been doing that. While a condenser mic really likes to bring in as much sound as it can all around it, because it has just basically an open capsule where people can just, it can take in sound and just take it in. Even though it tries to reject some of it, it's not as great, especially like say on the BM700, it has no foam on the inside, which is usually like a good way to dampen it. This one has built-in foam. This is a much higher quality product, and it's from Samson, so you know you're gonna get a pretty good quality product. And I actually really do like this little adapter. This is really kind of this little extension, because you could totally throw this on, say, this to make it a little bit longer, maybe a little bit changing. But yeah, generally, I think the looks of this thing aren't that amazing. Like, they don't look that great. It's because they don't look good. I think these kind of mics look good when they're on a shelf, but like otherwise, put back up there. Oh gosh, it's trying to fall. Oh no, stay up. But otherwise, I don't think this microphone looks that great. It's pretty bulky as well. It's pretty hefty. I'm gonna pull it off the stand. Like, this thing is hefty. This is a pretty heavy sucker. This thing's pretty heavy, and I think it could do good for, say, doing a interview or a thing like that, and say you want to hold it like this and say, okay, what was the thing? You know, using it as a broadcast mic. That's what I think this could easily be used for. And for podcasting, like it's recommended, it recommends podcasting, live sound, and music recording on the box. Music recording? No, because most music recording you'd use a cardioid puller patterned cardioid mic, I guess, like a condenser microphone, because those just sound better. I'm gonna put this back on its stand because it's bothering me having to hold it. You calm down, arm. Podcasting, I think this could work great. I think so, because you could get like 3 or 4 of them, hook them up into a nice sounding interface, and you have some pretty good microphones that don't look that amazing, but it doesn't really matter. And they have built-in live monitoring, which is just super useful. And I do believe even if you unplug it, I bet you can still monitor the audio through that, which is just great. It's great, useful, very, very useful to have direct monitoring plugged in. And if you're just using the USB, it's great for that. And yeah, live performing, obviously, it's a great little cardioid puller pattern dynamic mic that'll work great for that. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you've watched this far, that's pretty awesome. I've been trying to get a lot more out this week, and if you guys do want to see that video on that microphone, trying to maybe improve it, add some more things to it, and maybe taking this microphone and showing you how I improve it, doing like some Audition tutorials showing you how I do it, because I record through Adobe Audition and stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys do like that, and otherwise, so yeah, if you guys also want to see me do some work on maybe audio or on video, because I'm very much a video motion graphics editor, as you've probably seen throughout the video recently, go ahead and check out my Twitch stream. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. That is the new schedule. I wanted to make that clear. I don't know when this video is going to come out. I think I'm going to be streaming before then, but if that's not clear already, the old videos were doing that, but a lot of it's changed in the last couple weeks or so, and my old streaming schedule is not going to work out. So we are doing Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and that's the streaming schedule for now. So other than that, guys, make sure to also subscribe and hit the bell icon, hit a like button, so you guys can help support the channel and do a bunch more. And also, there will be links down in the description below for you guys to buy any of the products featured in this episode. I'll try to find Amazon links for the Sennheiser and that, but I don't think you should do that. The Q2U will be there. And I'll also put this arm, because this is an awesome little arm. And heck, I might even put the camera. Why not? So, other than that, guys, I will see you guys next week. Have fun.